As we've gone through this module trying to gain some level of understanding about the terms and behavior of our DNS server or our bind server as we've been looking at, we've been running through and we've identified the location and the types of configuration files that we have. On our Ubuntu system, we've seen that they're in etc/bind. But when we start looking at other distributions, they may be just directly under etc or even underneath the named directory. But remembering that we can use either the rpm command or the dpkg command to list everything that was included in the package that we used to install the DNS server within the first place. We took a look at some of the sample zone files we get. I call them sample files. They really are our default zone files, but we saw the localhost zone. So this was then giving me information about resolving then the localhost to 127.0.0.1. The nice thing about this is we can use it then as a template when we look at designing our own zones later on. We also looked at the 127 zone. So this was a reverse lookup zone, and we'll see how they're created later. But instead of resolving the name to an IP address, we use PTR or pointer records to resolve IP addresses to names. We looked at confirming the version of DNS server that we were using. We did that using the named minus lowercase v. We could also use the uppercase v, but in using the uppercase v, we get more information about how it was compiled as well. Looking at the status, we can do this quite simply using the service script and then the status argument to that bash shell script. However, it really then just says if it's running or not. For more detailed information on that, we saw how we could use the rndc command. We looked at some more server and client tools, and that's where we've just finished up. So we took a look at how we could check the syntax of our configuration file with our named-checkconf. And we also saw then, using the checkzone, name-checkzone command, how we could check the integrity of a zone file. Within the client tools, from the command line, we took a quick look at dig. But we also saw in the slides that we could use dig or nslookup to resolve names. But again, we'll be looking more at these tools as we go through. With all of this under our belt, we're now going to start investigating bind on the CentOS 7 system. So it's going to give us a couple of things to look at. We no longer use the initialization scripts that we were looking at on Ubuntu. We will be using systemd. And the location and names of our services will be slightly different. But this is something we should be used to with Linux now. It's not always going to be exactly the same, just looking at the interpretation to fit the operating system that we're applying it to.